What's up everybody, it's me, Coach Mills here, and in this video we're going to be breaking down the easiest to hardest characters to get to Grandmaster with. So if you're looking for a character to main, and you want to get to Grandmaster as quickly as possible, the characters in the S tier are going to be the easiest characters to do so, and the characters in the D tier are characters that you're going to have to struggle a lot harder. Still might be strong characters once mastered, but as far as getting that good, and getting good enough, and having enough value to get to Grandmaster, it's going to be harder on the D tier. So yeah, let's jump right in. First off is Diva. Diva's definitely a very powerful character, but I do think that in order to get good enough to get her to Grandmaster, you have to get fairly good all around at tank, all around at Overwatch. She's a very game sense heavy character that also has high amounts of mechanical skill with your tracking and just your execution of the actions. Overall, I think she's a rather hard character to get to Grandmaster. If you do get to Grandmaster with her, I could imagine you could get Grandmaster with like a lot of other characters if you could do it with Diva. So I'm probably going to put Diva like in the B tier. I could even see the C tier. So she's actually pretty hard to get to Grandmaster. Zenyatta. I think that Zenyatta is actually rather simple right now to get to Grandmaster, especially low Grandmaster. All you have to do is discord a target, mainly the tank, keep them discorded the entire freaking game, apply a ton of pressure, and live. That's kind of what you're trying to do. I know the living part is kind of hard, but keep in mind that people aren't going to be coordinated in their attacks at you, especially if they're not counter swapping to deal with you, which is only going to happen a certain small percentage of the matches. You're going to be fine as long as you don't play up too close, you play your distance, you play your cover. You're going to be fine. You're just poking. Keep the discord on the tank, apply a ton of pressure, and of course have like something maybe to swap to if you have to, you know, if you're being like hard countered by like a Sombra and a ball combo. But the majority of the time, Zen is going to kind of be a cakewalk where you're just having a ton of impact game after game and really just making the enemy tank's life a living hell. But I will say the trick is you got to understand that your team is going to flame you more on this character than most. Your tanks are going to flame you for not enough heals. Your teammates are going to tell you you're just doing bad because you don't have a high heal stat or whatever. Who cares what they have to say? Blow past them, lock Zen, DPS, you know how it is. Bastion. This character's hard as hell to climb to Grandmaster. So hard. Good luck climbing this character to Grandmaster. Yeah, it's just hard. Like, I don't even know how else to put it. It's just, you're going to be countered most of the time, and yeah, I mean, if you're gonna play this character, I think his best job or his best role is just when he has good situations, you can flex to him, you know, when there's a composition you think you can get value against, or when you have a team that's working with you, sure, but most of the time he's just not going to be it. I'm going to put him in the D tier. So Winston to get to Grandmaster with, kind of in the same camp as Diva. A little bit difficult, I think. You have to learn a lot on Winston to get good enough to climb to Grandmaster. Mainly timing is really, really important. Your engagement timing. Knowing when you can go for a deeper dive versus shallow dives. Making sure that you're not wasting your cooldowns pre-fight. This is all really important stuff on Winston. I do think that all in all, he's going to get... I think he's a little easier than Diva. I'm going to put him in the high B. I think it's about that. To get to Grandmaster 2. Cassidy. Point and click, baby. Point and click. I think he is about Zen. I want to say he's about the same. Like, yeah, he's a fairly simple and straightforward character to get to Grandmaster with. Mainly what you just have to do is you just have to live. Like, it doesn't even matter if you can't aim on this character. You can get Grandmaster. All you need is the ability to live, and you need to be positioned near cover. Don't go for these crazy wide flanks. You don't have the mobility for it. Don't do any crazy off-angle shenanigans. Tether yourself to pieces of cover. Put yourself in line of sight of your supports and live. And you're going to have so much impact on this character. So, yeah, that's my tips for you. Next off, we do have to talk about Sigma. As far as easiness to get to Grandmaster, I know that Sigma is a hard character to master, hard character to learn. Not enough people are abusing what Sigma can do. Sigma's insanely strong. The way in which that you can just kind of inflict your will onto enemies, this is what you do on Sigma. Make sure that you're still playing cover. Just because you have a shield doesn't mean that you should be playing in the middle of the open. You're still playing near cover source. You're utilizing your shield to transition through cover or apply pressure. So from cover to cover or applying pressure. And most importantly, you play your distance on Sigma. There's an effective range on Sigma where your hyperspheres explode. Play that range at all times. Don't allow any enemy, I don't care if it's a Zarya, I don't care if it's a freaking Reaper, it doesn't matter what it is. Don't allow these characters to get on top of you. Keep your distance. If you do those things on Sigma, you're already better than the majority of Sigmas, and you can abuse this character and climb. I promise you. He's really, really simple to get to Grandmaster, at least low Grandmaster. Once you get there, now all of a sudden players are a lot better at like controlling their range and inflicting their range onto you, not allowing you to dictate the pace. But until low Grandmaster, you don't even really see that. I'm going to put him in the top of S tier. I think he's that strong. Now we do got to talk about Widowmaker. So a couple of things about Widow. I think that if you have like the insane skills, of course you can get to Grandmaster, right? Of course. But in order to get those skills, you have to put in the work on Widow. You have to put in the work. There's a certain amount of strategy involved in Widowmaker, right? Making sure that you're holding these really far angles, abusing your range, similar to Sigma. You're also making sure that you are changing up the information that you're giving the opponents. You know, firing from one angle, changing to a different angle, rotating to another angle, maybe going back to the first angle, right? You're playing the battle of information, and then reliability. With Widowmaker, you do not have to hit insane shots to climb to Grandmaster, but you have to be able to hit all the easy ones. The ones where people are jumping in front of you, the ones where people are walking in a straight line, the ones where people are standing still. You have to hit these shots, all these shots. And honestly, mechanical skill in Overwatch is hard, right? It's hard to learn. It's hard to master. We have these characters that are moving at the speed of sound, hitting a head on some of these characters way harder than freaking holding a goddamn head level angle in Valorant. No offense, but I'm putting Widow in the C tier purely because I think it's harder for you to get to Grandmaster, become a Grandmaster Widow, than it is on a lot of other DPS. Cassidy, I think you don't even need that much mechanical skill. You don't even really like need to develop much of anything in order to get to Cassidy to that level. It's more about your positioning. Widowmaker requires you to really hard grind her a lot more. So I think she's a bit harder to get to Grandmaster. Once you get the skill though, you can probably hard carry more than Cassidy, but that's not really what we're talking about. We're just talking about difficulty to get to Grandmaster, to get good enough to get to Grandmaster, right? Develop the skills to get to Grandmaster. Arisa, I would say Arisa's pretty hard to get to Grandmaster. Pretty hard. Yeah, and so the reason that Arisa is a pretty hard character is because I think you're like a 51%er, which means that in every game you're only 1% more impactful than the other tank or whatever the case may be, and you're just like let's say if some of these characters, like let's say if you're goated at Widow, right, you're gonna win like 60%, 70% of your games. So out of 100 games you're gonna win 70 of them because you're just dominant at Widow. With Arisa, you could be a dominant Arisa. I feel like even if you're an absolute crackhead, you're gonna win like 55 games out of 100. So I think like this. So, but Arisa's simple. She's simple to learn, right? You just learn your cooldowns. You learn your spin cooldown. You learn your javelin cooldown. You're still playing cover. Once again, like I keep repeating this, but tank players a lot of the time they ignore cover. I've coached a lot of tank players, even masters, even low GM tank players. They do not play cover sources. The reason that cover sources are so strong is because tank cooldowns are really strong. And when you don't have them, that's when you're vulnerable. If all you have to do to get all these powerful cooldowns back is just deny line of sight between you and the enemy, you're freaking golden. And that's what you can do on Zarya, Junker Queen, Sigma, Arisa. Like you could do it with all these tanks. So just play your cover sources, go from cover to cover. Make sure that when you're pushing out in the open, you're doing it for a reason, you have your cooldowns to do so. But as you can see, these two characters are here for different reasons. Widow because she's really, really hard to get good enough to climb to Grandmaster, and Arisa because she's really, really hard to climb to Grandmaster even when you're good. Okay, two different things. Baptiste. I actually think that Baptiste is a fairly easy character to get to Grandmaster with, mainly because you can kind of do everything you want to yourself. Like you can heal your team, you can do a lot of damage, you have very impactful abilities. I'm gonna say that he's actually S. I know that that's kind of strange, but I do think that he requires less of you than a lot of other supports do for the same amount of value. He's kind of like gonna be better than, if you're not like really insane. So I guess the way to describe this is you would have to be a better Ana and a better Kiriko to get to low Grandmaster than you would have to be on BAP. BAP can kind of get you there because you have things that are going to be forgiving for your positioning, right? Your exo boots. You have a way to heal yourself. You have pretty consistent and reliable damage. You have your lamp that's really, really strong. I think all of these kind of come together to just make BAP like just a really, really strong support that if you're trying to get to Grandmaster with, I think he's probably the simplest. Ashe to get to Grandmaster with, I think it's about here. Not quite as easy as Cassidy, but still fairly simple to get to Grandmaster with. And it's not as hard to get good at Ashe as it is Widowmaker, right? Consistent dynamites, bobs that make sure to create crossfires with you and the enemy team, right? So the bob is behind them and you're in front of them and they're like freaking sandwiched in, or the bob is creating a lot of space. Those are fantastic. So yeah, I'm gonna put Ashe somewhere around here, but I do think that at least mechanically I guess she's about the same class, kind of around those, a lot easier than Widowmaker for sure. Genji to get to Grandmaster. No Grandmaster. I feel like it's kind of a strange situation for Genji. Strange, because here's the thing about Genji is definitely a character that can get you there, of course, but in order to get there, I feel like you have to be really good at Genji. Like, one of the reasons that a lot of Genji players are getting to Grandmaster and having success in Grandmaster is because they have put in a ridiculous amount of hours on this freaking character. Like, I think Genji fans and Genji players are more loyal to this character than ever. So like, a lot of people that are picking up Genji that are like, oh, I want to be like that Genji, I want to be like Necros, or even just random GM Genji. That Genji probably has 3,000 hours on Genji. They probably do. They probably have 3,000 freaking hours on Genji. So I'm not trying to say that to discourage you. I'm just saying that that's what it takes to get really comfortable and confident on this character. It's not like you're just going to be able to pick up and be godly at him right away. He's a hard character to learn. Mechanically, he's hard, and I do think that if you're good with him, of course, get to Grandmaster pretty simply, sure, but getting good is the hard part, similar to Widowmaker. So I'm actually going to put him down here. You know, if you have the skills, then yes, you can, but it's hard. If you were starting from zero, trying to learn one of these characters, Genji is going to be a hard one to pick up, get good enough to climb to Grandmaster. Now, if you're already on your Genji journey, you've already developed a lot of the time into him, I do think that, you know, honing in on your executions on Genji, you can get to Grandmaster, sure, especially low Grandmaster, sure, but picking him up for the first time, good freaking luck. Sojourn. I think that Sojourn is on the easier side. Now, yes, hitting rails is hard. Hitting consistent rail guns on headshot hit rail guns is very hard to do on Sojourn, but you don't even need to do that to climb on this character. You don't even need to do that to get to Grandmaster. You can just hit body shot rails. The fact that you're a character that applies a lot of pressure, has burst damage, has mobility and vertical mobility, all those things are good enough for this character to be like up here. You could take really aggressive wide angles, slide away, you can push aggressively, you can just kind of do pretty much what you want on this character, and you're a lot more independent than a character like Cass. You can play further positionally, and I don't think that you need as much skill, like mechanical skill behind you as like a Widow, where, you know, if you're not hitting consistent kills on, consistent crits on Sojourn's rail, you're fine. You can still get to Grandmaster with that. But if you're not doing that on Widowmaker, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. You're not going to be able to climb, most likely. Next up, we do got to talk about Zarya. Now, as far as what you need to get good enough at Zarya, it's primarily your pressure sense. So understanding the overall advantage versus disadvantage of the team fight. So you have to have a good understanding of who's winning and who's losing the team fight, and in what way can your impact affect that. So it's like overall like team fight game sense, and that can be a little bit hard to develop. You also do need good tracking, right? Good tracking on Zarya is going to really enable you to do a lot of things, like be more aggressive, go for these more proactive plays. I would say that she's probably about B. I think you could maybe justify low A. I'm going to put her here. I do think that she is a kind of a middle of the pack character. Of course, if you're really godly with her, of course you can climb to Grandmaster, but in order to develop and get to that level, I think it does require just you to be a generally good tank player. So, you know, like I said, if you get to Grandmaster or if you get Zarya to Grandmaster, you could probably get other tanks to Grandmaster. And honestly, if you get Zarya to Grandmaster, you could probably get a lot of DPS to Grandmaster too. Like if you could get Zarya to Grandmaster, I would imagine that you could probably get Cassie to Grandmaster. So let's talk about Junkrat Queen. So to develop the skills on this character, there's a lot that is needed for you. Proper timing, understanding like exactly when you can go in, how to go in, but still, even in spite of those things, Junkrat Queen just gets to kind of enforce her will. And I don't really think that there's a ton of complexity to her overall compared to many of the other tanks. The only really skill metric is engagement timing and consistency of knives. Those are like the main ones, like thrown dice connection. So the throw knives, you're just going to get better with that over time, practicing that. Engagement timing is something that all the tanks need, right? Diva and Zarya both need, every single tank needs. And I do think that overall, she can kind of just get away with a lot right now, especially in the meta right now. I think you can get to Grandmaster with this character much easier than most of the tanks, just purely based on your ultimate, your power, your ability to kind of just completely dominate people that are not prepared, don't counter you properly. You know, even in the lower ranks, they just don't. I'm gonna put Junkrat Queen up here. I think she's a fairly simple character to get to Grandmaster right now. So Moira, you know, this hot take, I'm gonna put her up in the S tier. I think Moira is pretty simple, probably not as easy as BAP is to get to Grandmaster right now. I do think that BAP just plays to more fundamental ways that you should be playing the game, and Moira already struggles slightly when you get to like that Masters area, where I think BAP actually starts to shine even more because people actually look out for you a little bit. But the thing about Moira, especially getting to Masters, it's kind of a cinch where you're just like abusing the fact that most people aren't mechanically good enough to punish you. But then past that, you're still going to be able to get some value once you learn your proper engagement timings, when you should be like being proactive, when you should be being reactive to help your team and peel for your team. Still, I think that at least to low Grandmaster, Moira is one of the easiest characters to do so. After that, you got to get really, really crafty with the character because, you know, a lot of DPS are going to punish the hell out of you. Anas aren't going to miss sleeps on you. Hanzos aren't going to miss your head. So now you have to be much more disciplined and much more exacting with your engagements. But up until that point, you can just basically have good movement on Moira, crouch spamming when you need to, combine it with fade. Make sure that you're fading from one natural source cover to the next. I know I keep talking about this. It's so damn important. Yeah, I'm going to say that she's in the S tier. Mercy to climb to Grandmaster with. This character is hard, okay? This character is hard to climb to Grandmaster with because it's kind of similar to the Arisa situation where you don't have a huge way to impact your will over the game, right? It's not like you just get to go in and kill a whole bunch of people. I do think that, you know, these characters are kind of in here because it takes so much time to master these characters mechanically to get good enough to climb. But these characters are in here mainly not necessarily because they're like, you know, the easiest in the world or anything like that. It's just primarily due to the fact that they will not be able to overly impact their will. They're more like a 41%er, right? Or a 51%er. They get little percentage points. So like if you're like a Grandmaster or a top 500 Mercy, and then we have a top 500 Widowmaker. The top 500 Widowmaker is going to be able to have like a 75-80% win rate, maybe even more than that, up to Grandmaster. And the top 500 Mercy, even though she can hang in top 500, she's good enough to be in top 500, she's not going to have an 80% win rate. Like, that's not going to happen because you just don't have as much raw impact over the low rank of games. It's impossible. Kind of like similar to like, I don't care how good of Arisa you are, you're not going to have a higher win rate on an Arisa if you're the best Arisa in the world than a Junkrat Queen being dropped in. So yeah, just keep in mind that these two groups are down here for different reasons. That's important. Different reasons. Talk about Mei. To get to Grandmaster with Mei, I'm gonna say here. It's here. Mei is just, you know, she's insane. However, it doesn't mean that there aren't things that you need to learn on this character. Primarily, you almost need a tank brain. Like, you need to understand more than anything the fight win condition. In what way can I utilize this wall to be impactful? Do I block off the support LOS? Do I block off this tank? There's a certain time frame where like the simple stuff on Mei is like, oh, X person walks through the choke, wall it off. But things get a little bit more tricky in the mid fight, and there's a lot of creative ways to use your wall in the mid fight to get some extra bits of value. But still, I do think that Mei overall, her kit is super powerful. She's consistent. She's reliable. This character is a really great character to climb with to Grandmaster. If your goal is to get to Grandmaster really fast, especially if you're not overly confident in your mechanical skill, Mei is the character that does it. Who cares? I mean, hitting icicles is great, but who cares if you don't hit them? You're still going to be able to get to Grandmaster. Just play more fundamentally. Play to win the team fights. Think about the game more from a top-down approach and not an individualistic one. Like, how do I win the fight for my team, not just for an individual? And you're going to be able to get to Grandmaster rather simply, in my opinion. Hanzo. Okay, so Hanzo, I think, is kind of a super strong character right now, which I'll make a separate video about why Hanzo has just kind of become insanely cracked out of nowhere. But Hanzo is a character that if you play your ranges, you play your angles, you don't even really have to be that mechanically good to have a lot of impact. Now, I do think that if you want to get to Grandmaster, you still need to be able to hit the easy shots on this character, but it's not as hard as a character like Widowmaker. And I do think that if you are someone that just like picks up Hanzo today and just decides to commit to this character, it won't take you that long to become decent at this character, like good enough to inflict your will over the lobby, be very, very strong, and it just capable of kind of just dominating a lobby completely. I'm gonna put him at the top of B. The only reason that he is like lower than like a character like Cassidy is not because of his power level. Like objectively in the meta, I think his power level is higher than Cassidy. It's primarily due to the fact that there is still a certain amount demanded of you of Hanzo mechanically when it comes to dueling enemies, that Hanzo is not the easiest character to like get good at mechanically. I understand you get a lot of value with RNG arrows, and you get a lot of value if you're just playing a really far distance, a really far off angle. You don't even have to hit shots, but when people come for you, you still need to be able to win these duels. You still need to be able to punish, you know, a lot of these characters that are actually actively attacking you, actively looking to kill you. You need to be able to punish these characters as Hanzo. And the mechanics on Hanzo are not easy. You know, like actually trying to hit shots on Hanzo, it's a very unique mechanical skill set, and a Hanzo that can aim is kind of like a complete demon. So I'm gonna put him here. I'm gonna put him in the top of B. Kiriko. How hard is it for people to get to Grandmaster on Kiriko? Now, we have a little bit of stats behind this, and we know that Kiriko actually has a really low percentage of win rate in the majority of ranks. And I think that that's just because Kiriko is a rather hard character to just get as much impact as other characters. Like, if I'm playing like pretty much a lot of other supports, I do think that you have to be mechanically better. You have to have really good timing on Kiriko, and a lot of people play Kiriko wrong. I'm actually gonna put Kiriko, I'll probably put Kiriko around here. I'm gonna put Kiriko in the C tier. I don't really think that she's that easy to get to Grandmaster with. And if you get good enough to get to Grandmaster with Kiriko, right, you have decent mechanical skill, you understand flank timing, you have an aggressive temperament. All these things mean that a Grandmaster Kiriko could probably be Grandmaster on a lot of other characters, right? Very, like, you know, the skill set required. I'm not saying that Kiriko isn't objectively really strong. I'm saying that you have to put a lot of time in developing this character in order to get her that strong. So yeah, I'm putting her down here. She's a rather hard character. I think she's worth the investment to get good enough to get to Grandmaster, just like how Widow is. Not how like Genji is, but, you know, Widow and Kiriko. But she's not easy to get to Grandmaster with. If you're a Kiriko main, there's a lot you gotta learn, there's a lot you gotta practice, and yeah, it's not gonna be as simple as a character like Baptiste, in my opinion. Lucio. To get to Grandmaster with, it's an interesting one. I think it kind of depends on like the style that you're incorporating. Unfortunately, with Lucio, you know, he has kind of like a duality to him, like a two style, where it's like there's one that's like more enabling and the other one is more aggressive on Lucio. But I think that Lucio's strongest aspect right now, particularly, is his ability to control the spacing on the enemy tank. Just being someone that can boop away tanks. Junkrat walks forward, Zarya walks forward, any tank just wants to push in, you boop them away. Winston jumps up, you boop them down. I think a lot of these things are super strong and worth of a lot of value. Plus, just being able to go on these like aggressive side missions with your DPS, really, really good on Lucio. I'm gonna say that he's probably B. I could maybe see that he's C. I don't really play Lucio quite enough to know. He's one of the few characters on this list that I actually don't think I could get to Grandmaster with. I think I can get to Grandmaster with every single character. In fact, I've gotten to Grandmaster with most of these characters. But with Lucio, I just don't think I could do it. So take my opinion on this one with a grain of salt, because this is definitely the character of the worst stat on this entire roster. So I'm sorry, Lucio mains. If you got something to say, just let me hear it in the comments down below. Reaper. So yeah, we're like almost done with our unranked to GM on Reaper. And so far it's been, you know, kind of a mixed bag. I do feel like Reaper is a character that you don't really want to main to get to Grandmaster. He has like good situations and bad ones. I felt like a lot of the games I lost on Reaper was if they had a Hanzo or if they had a Far Mercy. I just like, it just sucks. But really, Reaper is really, I think still a little bit underrated. I mean, he has a lot of really great tank matchups. He's good against Junkrat, he's good against Winston, of course. He's really good against you know, even Zarya he's good against, Roadhog he's good against, Ball he's good against. So there's a lot of good matchups. I think that to get to Grandmaster with, he's still like objectively a bit weak right now. That's his only like true downside, I would say, is that he's objectively a bit weak. I'm gonna put him here, I think. It's kind of... So it's definitely... So, like, the difference between him and Widow and Genji is I think that you could become a better Reaper in a much, much faster time frame, right? You know, Widow, you might have to put hundreds of hours. Genji, even more than that. Reaper, you could probably get really good at this character just devoting like a small chunk of hours to him. I think you could get really, really good with him. And it's one of the reasons why he's a great flex, too, because it doesn't require a ton. If you're someone that just randomly flexes to Widow, good luck. You're going to randomly flex to Widow when you don't play her. You're going to get shit on. So, yeah. Ana. Moving on to Ana. Ana to Grandmaster. You have a lot of the means to do so. I'm going to put her here. Aggressive nades, impactful damage. There's a lot about this character that I think just means that you can get to Grandmaster. I will say that it does require a lot of different skills from you, as opposed to like Zen, where you're more linear in what you have to do. You have to live, you have to discard the tank, and you have to deal damage. That's like it. Where Ana is like, you have to make all these like little micro decisions, right? You have to, you know, decide when to nade aggressively versus defensively, decide when to sleep aggressively versus defensively, know when to damage versus healing. Like, there's a lot of decisions you have to do. Aggressive nades versus, or aggressive nanos versus combo nanos. There's like a lot more complexity. You have the power to climb, but I think there's a lot that you have to do to get to the same level of impact as like a Zen. And honestly, if I would put her even lower, right? Like lower down, because of her skill, like all the skills that you need. But that would be if this was a list that was like to get to Grandmaster 1 or top 500, I would put her lower down, because I think there's a really, really huge gap in Ana's when you get to the highest ranks of play. Like, to get to low Grandmaster with Ana, I think that's like not as hard, because Ana is just such a powerful character that if you're just a bit proactive on this character, you can get there. You know, and you're not just feeding and dying over and over again. You can definitely get there. But you don't even have to do everything perfect. You know, you just have to do some things well. That's it. But she's definitely a character that is really hard to like get to that ultimate mastery of. Doesn't mean that she's a hard character to get to Grandmaster of, mainly because I think that you don't even have to be that good of an Ana to get to Grandmaster. That's kind of, you know, my take on the matter. Soldier 76. He's actually a little hard to get to Grandmaster with. Maybe that's just me, but I do think that the reason is because he's not as easy to have high sharp points of impact. He's kind of like a steady hum. You know, a steady hum of value. I do think that he's still good, though. He's still good. It's probably about Ashe. Like that. I think that. It's probably Junkrat. You have to be absolutely crazy to get to Grandmaster on Junkrat. I'm sorry. I'm putting him here. I know that this is another hot take, but I think that Junkrat is hard to get to Grandmaster with. He's hard. You have to know a lot on Junkrat. There are some maps, if you're a Junkrat main, there are some maps that you are just completely useless on unless you really know your lineups. Like, you're a GOAT on this character. I don't think this character just plays himself to Grandmaster. I can imagine that there's a lot of maps that are really bad on him. I think that he's like rather underpowered right now in general. Of course it's possible to get to Grandmaster. There's a lot of Grandmaster Junkrats that exist, but these guys, look at a Grandmaster Junkrat. I want you to go find one. Go find one. Look at their freaking profile. These guys have like 10,000 hours on this character. I'm just saying they do. They're demo man. They just put in the time. I don't know. This character here. We already know that in most of the meta ranks, she has like the highest win rate, and she doesn't get weaker in the higher ranks. She's still strong. Like, she's just a strong ass character that gets so much value. Even just so her inherent value is just gonna give you like a nice cushion of value. But then even past that, there's playstyle alterations in the middle of the game that you can incorporate. All in all, I think that she's fantastic. I'm gonna put her in the S tier. I think that she's really great to climb with. She's probably the simplest to climb to Grandmaster with, or not the simplest, but she's easy to climb with Grandmaster with once you put the time into this character. I think that really she's underplayed relative to how good she is. I mean, if that's not a fair assessment. Tracer. Tracer's strange. Like, we all know that Tracer's like the GOAT when you get good at her, but it's similar to like Widow, right? Similar to the Widow camp, where it's like hard to get good at Tracer. You're not going to be able to, if you're someone picking a character up for the first time, you're gonna have to put a ton of hours into Tracer to get good at her. I'm gonna actually move Hanzo up here, and I'm gonna put Tracer. Put Tracer here. I think that's here. I think that's fair. Probably right there, I think. I'm gonna put Reaper down here. For symmetrical sake, let's do this. I think this is fair so far. Hammond. I think so. We're in a kind of weird situation with Hammond right now. Joker Queen is pretty good against Hammond. Sombras are like kind of out in full force, which is definitely annoying for sure. And then you start getting a lot of counter pickers around Masters for sure. Still, I think he is on the easier side to get to Grandmaster. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put him in the S tier. In fact, okay, I have like hard evidence about this, okay, because about 2 months ago I coached a platinum ball. Okay, I coached a platinum ball. No, it was a month ago. Month and a half ago. I coached a platinum ball. He was almost a diamond, and he had good mechanics. He did a lot of things right, but his timing was off. He was slamming way ahead of his team, right? His internal timing clock was way ahead of his team because he's a freaking super fast character, right? So he was rounding corners and slamming, and his team wasn't in a position to follow up. And then he was doing a lot, but because his team weren't in a position to follow up, they were never able to shoot into his slams or have that appropriate timing. So that was one thing he was doing wrong, and then he was also doing his ults wrong. But mainly, I coached him. We had, I think, 2 sessions together, and he's a Grandmaster Ball now. So yeah, all I had to do was just tell him to look at his team. Have more delay in his setups, look at his timing, and he did those things and he climbed. And that's kind of the reality of Hammond. Is I think that to get to Grandmaster, low Grandmaster, I don't think you need to be godly at Hammond or anything like that. You just need to do the cycles properly. And then of course there's like levels at the highest ranks, like, you know, from a low Grandmaster to a high Grandmaster. There's definitely levels, and from a high Grandmaster to like someone that's in the top 100, like then these Hammonds get like completely crazy. I'm not saying that Hammond doesn't have a high skill ceiling, because he does. It's just like to get to low Grandmaster, I think it's fine. Hog, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. I think you can get to Masters, but he's just like kind of an objectively underpowered character right now, I would say. It's gonna be kind of hard. Yeah. So like on one hand, yeah, I'm putting him here. On one hand, like he's kind of like the Genji thing, where like if you're good at him, you can kind of enforce your will over the lobby, sure. But there's so many niche maps for him. Unfortunately, he's just objectively weak right now. I'm just gonna put him in the D tier. Good luck if this is your main. Reinhardt to Grandmaster. I think. Do I want to put him here? I think I want to put him here. I think he's here. I think Reinhardt, just with your shatter being very powerful, your ability to really kind of take over a game, your teammates are just going to naturally play better around you than most tanks. I'm going to put him in the A tier. So yeah, I think that's fair. Pharah. If you have a duo, yeah, I'm going to put her. I'm gonna put Pharah here. Like if you have a duo, she's gonna be higher. Otherwise, she's gonna be lower. I think this is a fair placement for her. Somewhere around here. Echo. Echo's a bit better. Let's do Echo here. I think Echo's fair right there. Middle of B tier. Echo's a character that definitely. Let's actually put her a little bit below this. She has impactful ultimate. She's really strong in that regard. She's gonna be a bit better with the pocket, but she could play without it. I think all in all, Echo's actually a character that does require like a lot from you, though. You have to learn ultimates properly, who to ultimate, have to have decent tracking, you know, have to play your cooldowns really well. So she's definitely I would say that she's easier than Soldier to get to Grandmaster with if you're good with her, but she's harder to get good at than Soldier. So yeah. Sombra. Sombra's a weird one. To get to Grandmaster with. This is one of the other characters that I don't necessarily feel like I could get to Grandmaster with her. You know, Lucio and Sombra are probably the 2 that I feel like that way the most. And yeah, I'm gonna put her here right next to Lucio, because I have no fucking idea. I'm sorry, I don't know how hard this character is to get to Grandmaster with. I really don't know. Sombra players, let me know. Lucio and Sombra players, let me know down below how hard are these characters to get to Grandmaster with, y'all think. Brig, there, okay, Brig. Impactful packs, the ability to distance enemies. You get to bodyguard a person. You just keep them alive. Keep your Anas alive. Keep your Hanzos alive. Keep your Casses alive. Keep your Zens alive. You're going to get a lot of value that way. I think that she's like a pretty easy character to get to Grandmaster with. She doesn't like... she doesn't do it as strong as some of the ones up here, I don't think. But she's still she's still rather simple to get to Grandmaster with. Torb! We're putting him up here, buddy. You're going up here. He's really strong in like every rank of play. He gets a ton of value in the low ranks of play just to kind of boost you up to Diamond Masters. And then it's just about making sure that you're, you know, playing your fundamentals. I'm gonna put him here. I'm gonna put him in the top, the bottom of S tier. Doomfist. Of course, we all know that if you want to get to Grandmaster, getting there with Doomfist, if you're good at Doomfist, it's a cinch. Kind of the same thing as these characters. So I'm putting Doomfist, you know, I'm gonna probably put him here, I would say. It's like, he's easy to get to Grandmaster with if you're good. It's just about getting good with this character. It requires a lot of time and repetition to get good with. He's much more difficult to grasp conceptually than some of these other characters. So yeah, this is my easiest to get to Grandmaster versus hardest to get to Grandmaster, and also implying how hard it is to get good enough to get to Grandmaster, right? So this is my list. Definitely let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments down below. Definitely an interesting one, kind of a bit hard to place, but I'm interested in your thoughts overall. But thank you so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.